Welcome back to another episode of The Story Behind the Painting. For our 18th entry, we are exploring a work that transcends mere observation and becomes an immersive spiritual experience. Observe the remarkable detail in these hands. The splayed fingers are frozen in a moment of profound intensity. The artist uses a stark, pallid palette to emphasize the weight of the scene and show a body marked by thorns and nails. This central panel of the Isenheim Altar is renowned as one of the most powerful and emotionally raw depictions of the Crucifixion ever created. Standing nearly 3 meters high, the sheer presence of this structure is deeply moving. Yet this was not created solely to depict hardship. In the early 16th century, it served a vital purpose as a machine for healing. Crafted between 1512 and 1516 by Matthias Grünewald, the Isenheim Altar is a sophisticated, multi-layered masterpiece. It was commissioned specifically for a monastery hospital intended to offer a message of shared experience and hope to the patients of 16th century Europe. Today, we look past the initial intensity of the art to discover how this masterpiece was designed to offer the ultimate sense of comfort and spiritual peace.
Welcome to Story Behind the Painting, where we dive into the most famous art works and learn a lot from that.
Before we dive into the meaning, let's look at the bones of this massive work. It was painted by Matthias Grünewald, though history now knows him as Mathis Nithart. It's a monumental feat of engineering, standing at roughly 269 by 307 centimeters at its center. Painted with oil on heavy wood panels, it was originally housed in Isenheim, but today lives at the Musée d'Unter Linden in Colmar. What makes the Isenheim Altar legendary isn't just the painting style, but its structure. It's a polyptych, a multi-paneled artwork that functions like a giant sacred pop-up book. It has 3 distinct views that were revealed depending on the church calendar. The first view, the one we see when the altar is closed, is the Crucifixion. Notice how the sky is not just dark, but an oppressive, pitch-black void that pushes Christ's distorted body forward. Guarding this scene on the side wings are Saint Sebastian and Saint Anthony, figures of endurance and protection. When the first set of panels opens, the mood shifts entirely into a symphony of light. This second view depicts the Annunciation, the Resurrection, and a unique concert of angels. Look closely, and you will spot a mysterious green feathered angel among the heavenly host. Finally, we reach the heart of the altar, the third view fully open, revealing a carved shrine dedicated to Saint Anthony. It is flanked by 2 dramatic scenes, the serene meeting of Saint Anthony and Saint Paul, and the terrifying temptation of Saint Anthony. The demonic imagery in the temptation scene reflects both internal and external struggles of the human spirit. The pop-up book analogy helps viewers visualize how the hinges work and makes the technical explanation feel like a reveal. To truly understand why this altar looks so intense, we have to look at where it lived. It wasn't originally in a museum, it was in the hospital of the Antonite monastery in Isenheim. The Antonite monks were the frontline workers of the 1500s. They specialized in treating 2 of the most terrifying conditions of the age, the plague and a horrific disease known as St. Anthony's fire, or ergotism. St. Anthony's fire was caused by a fungus that grew on rye bread. It made the skin feel like it was burning, hence the name, and often led to physical distortions very similar to what Grünewald painted on the body of Christ. This wasn't a coincidence. When patients were brought into the hospital, they were placed directly in front of this altar. The message was clear. You are not alone in your suffering. Even the divine has felt your pain. The man behind this vision was Guido Guerci, the preceptor, or head of the monastery. You can actually see his coat of arms tucked into the work, a permanent signature of his patronage. Guerci didn't just want a pretty decoration for the chapel. He commissioned a therapeutic image. In a world before modern painkillers, this altar was a spiritual anesthetic. It was designed to guide a patient through their agony, using the first closed view of the crucifixion to mirror their current state, and the hidden inner views of the resurrection to offer a promise of a body made whole again. It's perhaps the most powerful example in history of art being used not just for beauty, but for the literal survival of the human spirit. Now let's talk about the man behind the brush. For centuries, he was a mystery. We called him Matthias Grünewald, a name given to him by a 17th century biographer. But modern historians have uncovered a different identity, Mathis Nithart. He was a contemporary of the famous Albrecht Dürer, but while Dürer was fascinated by the mathematical perfection of the Italian Renaissance, Nithart took a different path. He served as a court painter in Halle and Mainz, but his true legacy is found in how he shattered the rules of art. His first major contribution was expressive realism. At a time when other artists were obsessed with idealized beauty, Nithart embraced the ugly truth. He believed that raw emotion was more important than perfect proportions. If a hand needed to be unnaturally twisted to show agony, he twisted it. He traded grace for honesty. But he wasn't just a master of darkness. Look at his use of color. In the Resurrection and the Concert of Angels, he uses electric colors that seem centuries ahead of their time. These glowing oranges, vibrant magentas, and deep iridescent greens were meant to represent a supernatural light that should not exist in our physical world. Finally, there is the theological depth. Nithart was an artist caught between worlds, the medieval and the modern. He had an uncanny ability to translate complex mystical and Lutheran ideas into visual stories. He didn't just paint a scene, he painted an atmosphere. Whether it was the terrifying shadows of a demon's cave or the blinding light of a miracle, he made the invisible world of faith feel tangible and real. In many ways, the Isenheim Altar is the ultimate bridge. It stands with one foot in the medieval world of mysticism and the other in the Renaissance world of human observation. It took the deepest fears of the 16th century and transformed them into a masterpiece that still leaves us breathless today. Its journey hasn't been easy. The altar was hidden away during the chaos of the French Revolution to save it from destruction. In the centuries since, it has been reclaimed as a powerful symbol of identity and a universal icon of human suffering. It reminds us that no matter the era, art has the power to hold our pain and help us carry it. We began today with the darkness of the Crucifixion, but we end here with the resurrection. This was the final view for the patients at Isenheim, the ultimate promise that healing is possible and that light eventually swallows the dark. The story of the Isenheim Altar is a reminder that art isn't just something we look at. It is something that looks back at us, offering comfort when we need it most. There are thousands more stories hidden within the canvas of history. If you want to dive deeper into the mysteries of art and the cultures that created them, download the Muzea mobile app. It's your personal guide to the world's greatest masterpieces, right in your pocket. Thanks for joining us for episode 18. We'll see you in the next one.
Welcome to Story Behind the Painting, where we dive into the most famous art works and learn a lot from that.